In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to do the leaping stripes pattern, which is a really nice pattern for something like a blanket because it gives you that nice solid stitch, and I think this would look absolutely beautiful in a really nice chunky yarn as well. Today I'm using Stylecraft Special DK in the colour Duck Egg and Wisteria, but you can choose any yarn you want to use. I'm using a 5mm hook again because this is with the Stylecraft Special DK, but make sure you choose the correct size hook to go with your selected yarn. You will need some scissors and a darning needle to finish off your ends. To begin, you want to create your slip knot, and you can do this whichever way you prefer. Insert your hook and we're going to start our foundation chain. Now your foundation chain wants to be worked in multiples of 4, so you would yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through. So multiples of 4 to whichever length you want to do your project. So if you want to pause the video, you're going to do multiples of 4, and then when you come back we'll add 2 more for our turning chain. So I've just done a sample chain length to 20, which is a multiple of 4, and now I'm going to add 2 for our turning chain. And now we're ready to work back along our foundation chain. Now when you're doing this, you can either work in the front loop, the back loop, whichever you prefer to work in. And we're going to start off by doing a treble crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So not the one that's on the hook. We go 1, 2, 3 and 4, so we're going to work into this chain here. Now this is a treble crochet in the UK. In the US this is known as double crochet. So it's yarn over, insert into the 4th chain from the hook, grab the yarn and pull it through. You'll have 3 loops on the hook, grab the yarn, pull through 2, and grab the yarn, pull through 2. I shall leave a link in the description for a tutorial which goes through that in more depth if you need to. So now these two are counting as 2 stitches, and we're going to go ahead and do another treble crochet into the next chain, so that on this very end here we have 3 stitches in total. Now on the beginning and on the end of the row you're going to have 3, but as we work along you'll see that we're only going to have 2 stitches together. So what we want to do now is actually chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. So we're chaining 2 and then skipping 2. So skip, skip, and then work a treble into the next stitch along. So insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. It's going to be a little bit fiddly working into your foundation chain as normal, but try not to pull too much on your stitches and make these ones too tight where you've skipped them. So we're going to do another treble into the next space. And then we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, skip 2, 1, 2, and then another 2 trebles. One and 2, and chain 2 and skip 2. If you want to pause the video and do this all the way to the end, you'll find that if you chain 2, skip 2, you'll actually end up with 1 chain on the very end, and that is correct. So pause the video, work your way to the end till you have 1 chain left, and meet me back in just a moment. So now what you should have is something that looks like this. You have 3 stitches in the end, a space, 2 stitches, a space, etc. And as you've got to the end you should have this 1 stitch left, and you want to go ahead and do another treble into that stitch. So as I said before, your work is going to end with 3 stitches and begin with 3 stitches for this very first row. So now the next row is going to consist of the same colour, so we always do 2 rows of the same colour. You want to chain 1 and turn your work, and we're going to be working back along this way. And what you want to do is do a double crochet into this very first stitch. Now in the US this is known as single crochet, so your hook goes straight into that stitch, you grab the yarn, pull it through, you'll have 2 loops, and grab the yarn and pull back through. So where you're looking here, you actually have 2 stitches, and we want to work our way over into this space here. So you're going to chain 2, and we're going to do 2 treble crochets again, but rather than do it in this chain 2 here, we're actually going to do it in the chain 2 from the previous row. So you want to yarn over, and you're going to bring your hook right down to the foundation chain. This is why I said try not to make these chains too tight. So you go straight into the foundation chain. It might be a little bit fiddly, but it does get easier the more you build the pattern. Okay, so my hook is in that foundation chain. I'm going to grab the yarn and pull it through, and just pull it up slightly, otherwise it pulls down the work a little bit too much. Grab the yarn and then just complete your treble crochet like you would before. Now at the moment it looks like it's pulling it up quite a lot, but as you build your work that will actually work itself out right, so don't panic too much if it tends to look like this, but also try and pull that stitch up just a little bit so it's not pulling down too much. We're then going to go ahead and do exactly the same thing into the next chain of that space. So insert your hook, grab the yarn and pull it through, and at this point just pull it up slightly. Grab the yarn, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. We now want to skip these 2 spaces, or these 2 stitches, so we chain 2, 1, 2, and then do exactly the same into the next space. So it's yarn over, insert into the foundation chain, grab the yarn, pull it through and pull up slightly, grab the yarn, pull through 2 loops, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then again into that next space. Just straighten out the work just to make sure that you are going into the right space, but as I say, the first 2 rows are probably the most fiddly. So this is what it should be looking like. You want to go ahead and chain 2, work into the next space all the way to the end, so work into your last space and I shall meet you back in a moment. So I've just finished my last 2 stitches of this round, and then we're going to chain 2 just as normal, and then we're going to do a single crochet right into this very last stitch. And then we're going to do a double crochet right into this very last stitch. Remember, double crochet in the US is known as single crochet. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through 2. So this is your first 2 rows. We are going to repeat this now. So the pattern's really simple. It is just really a 2-row repeat. And at this point you can choose whether you want to tie off your yarn or whether you want to carry your yarn upwards. Now I would only suggest that you carry your yarn upwards if you're using a maximum of 3 colours. If you're using multiple colours you want to tie off your yarn. But I'll just show you how you can carry your yarn if that's what you want to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop this first colour and grab the second colour. So you just want to make a loop with your yarn, and you're just going to literally pull it through like this, and then you want to pull down on your existing yarn from your colour A, and also pull on the loose end of your new yarn, or both of them, just to bring that downwards. Grab the yarn, chain 1 and turn. Now if you want to, you can lay this thread across the top and work it in as you're going along, but we're pretty much going to do exactly the same as before with this pattern. So we're going to start off with a double crochet in this very end, and then because we get to a space straight away, we are going to do our treble crochets into the tops of these first two trebles from the previous, from the very first row. So it would be yarn over, and then you want to put it through the top of that stitch, and because this is now a stitch, you will look like you have two loops on the hook. Grab the yarn, pull it through, remembering to pull up slightly. Grab the yarn, pull through two, and grab the yarn, pull through two, and then again into the next stitch. And then because we get now to the two trebles from the previous row, we're going to chain two, 1 and 2, and then move over into the next space and do our two trebles into the tops of the stitches from the very first row. 1 and 2. So you don't really see the pattern starting to emerge till you get to about 5 or 6 rows in. But what you want to do now is pause the video and work your way to the very end, so to the very last end space here, and I'll meet you back to show you what to do to finish this row and start the next. So you're now at the end of this row, and then you have this very last stitch just here. So we've just done our two trebles into that very last space. You're going to do your double crochet right into that very last stitch. Try not to make these double crochets too tight because it can pull down the work. So just do a fairly loose double crochet and then chain one and turn your work. Now as normal, we're going to start off by doing a double crochet into that very first stitch. We have two trebles just here, so we're going to skip over them by doing a chain two, and then working into that these two stitches here from 2 rows ago, we're going to do our treble crochet. So you see it is a really simple pattern to do. There's not much, once you get the hang of it, there's not much to think about really. You can just keep going and going and going. So we've just done our 2 trebles here, and then you want to chain 2 and repeat. So pause the video, work your way to the very end, and I'll just show you how you can pick up this original colour to work your next row. So now I've just done my last 2 trebles, I've chained 2, and I'm going to do a double crochet into this very last stitch, but it's going to be slightly different. You want to insert your hook and grab the yarn and pull it through, and don't finish off this stitch, because what you want to do is you want to drop that colour, pick up your original colour, so colour A, and then just grab the yarn and pull it through. Don't pull too tightly here because otherwise you will bunch the stitches down, and that's not what you want. So at this point just take your time to make sure that you've pulled enough of the thread through so that it's not pulling it down. And you would just chain 1, turn your work, and then start off with your double crochet into that very first stitch and repeat your pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and build a few more rows and then show you how you can finish off this work so you're not left with these gaps here. So work as many rows as what you need to, and then come back and see how to finish off your work. So now I've worked 13 rows of this pattern, and you can see that you can really start to see the stripes or the leaping stripes. So you want to finish on the same colour as what you started with, and I've already done the first row of this colour. I've chained 1 and I've turned my work. Now what we would normally do is chain 1 and work our trebles into this space here, but we actually want to start making it flat now and fill in this space. So this is pretty simple. Rather than chaining 2, you are just going going to do a double crochet into the top of the treble and another double crochet. So that just replaces the chain 2, and then you would just do your treble as normal into the trebles from the 2 rows before. So 1 and 2. So that fills that space, and then you would just go ahead and instead of chaining 2, you want to do your double crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then the same all the way to the very end. Now what you'll find is once you've finished, if you've carried your yarn, you will have a few strands just here, which is fairly easy to sort out. You can just do a double crochet around the whole of your work, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. So now, having come to the very end of the top, you can see that the top will be a little bit uneven, and so will the bottom. And then we also have these strands that we want to hide here. So I've just done a double crochet into that very corner. Whenever you're working into the corner, you always want to do sort of 3 stitches there just to make it curve round neatly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the work on its side. I'm going to leave the same colour attached to do a border all the way round, and you're just going to want to do another double crochet into that corner. And this stitch is going to class as the first stitch in this next row. So the stitches that you've just done are from the previous row, so just bear that in mind. So as you're working along here, you'll see you've got the post of the stitch, and then you'll see the join, and then another post of the stitch, and then a join, and you're just going to do a double crochet into each of those spaces. So making sure that you're going round those stitches, and also weaving in that loose thread. I mean, you can put these stitches generally where you feel they need to, or they need to be. Don't sort of feel that there is one set rule, but generally you'll see the gaps and you want to put one in every gap, and try and make it the same on this side as it will be on the opposite side. So it might be worth counting how many stitches you've done as you go along. And then when you get to the very base here, I again would maybe put 2 stitches in there, 1 for the corner, and then start your way along the base. So you want to then go into the bottom of the stitches just here, so almost like you're putting another stitch into each of the chains along that row. So just in and all the way along. And of course, if you're working round and you find that you've got a bit of a gap, feel free to just go ahead and do a treble crochet in that space just to fill in the gap slightly, just like so. So if you want to pause the video, work your way round to the very end, and I'll show you how to finish off that row. So once you've worked your way all around, you'll find yourself with this very first stitch from this row, and you want to just insert your hook underneath that stitch, the top of that stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through. Take your scissors and snip off the yarn, and then just pull that out, and then you can just use your darning needle to sew in your end. So that is how the leaping stripes turns out. I think a crab stitch border on this would look absolutely beautiful in the contrasting colour. I shall leave a link just either up here or in the description box below of where you can find the tutorial for the crab stitch. But there is your leaping stripes tutorial. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up. leave a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with any of my latest videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you again next time. Bye!